We got some pretty big PvP changes coming, including some brand new perks that are going to heavily counter tanks and healers. Keep in mind that these changes are on the PTR, so they are open to change. Shout out to everybody who's been liking and subscribing. It's really been helping the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to go over the general changes first, but I'm going to save one for a specific weapon because it really benefits that weapon in particular. Okay, first off, apparently they were calculating armor wrong that was making low levels actually be more effective than high levels. So they fixed that, and then to counter the fix, they actually increase the amount of damage that low level players are going to do to high level players, and then decrease the amount of damage that high level players are going to do to low level players. So you want to keep that in mind if you're open world PvPing. But if you're not open world PvPing and you are playing Outpost Rush, there's actually a massive nerf to brutes. They actually completely removed the brute's ability Gravity Vortex, which is a thing that pulls you into the brute. This isn't only going to make it so it's easier to escape brutes, but it's also going to make it so that if you're standing on the point, the brute can no longer pull you into it. So they're going to be a lot less effective at defending points. Outside of that, they're actually changing the way that they calculate crit damage. It's going to reduce the additional damage that crits do by 3 to 5%. So this is going to be a pretty big nerf to weapons that rely heavily on crit damage. They also changed the buffer window for dodges, abilities, and basic attacks. If you don't know what a buffer window is, it's basically the time that you're stuck in the attack animation and can't do anything else. They changed it so now every buffer window is from the first frame that that attack can do damage to the last frame that it can do damage. So basically they removed the instances where you were stuck in the window for too long or you were able to escape it early. So this should make everything feel a little bit more clean. Moving on to the individual weapon changes, the rapier, sword and shield, and hatchet all had their heavy attack time increased by 5 frames, which probably plays into that buffer window change, but either way, it's a small nerf to your attack speed. They also extended the hatchet's aimed throw recovery time from 3 frames to 14 frames. So again, you're going to be stuck in that buffer window a little bit longer. As for the fire staff and the bow, you can no longer use meteor shower or rain of arrows to attack people through gates. So this makes them a little bit useful in wars and outpost rush. But outside of that, the fire staff got a bug fix that's really important. The watch it burn passive actually didn't work before, and now it does. Basically, if you crit with the fire staff, it's going to apply a dot that does extra damage. Going back to the bow, the bleed that's applied from rain of arrows actually can't stack from multiple targets anymore. Before, you'd be able to drop 2 rain of arrows from separate players onto one player, and that bleed would stack doing additional damage, but now it's just going to reset the bleed's cooldown. Penetrating shot also got a bug fix, which is a nerf. It would basically apply the added damage for hitting multiple targets on the first target when it shouldn't do it until after it hits the second target. So if you're just hitting one target with penetrating shot, it's going to do a little bit less damage. On the good side for the bow, it got some touch-ups to its transitions between primary attacks and abilities, so overall the bow's just going to feel smoother. The musket got an overall nerf because of the crit damage change. It really relied on doing that extra damage from headshots, and now you're going to do that 3 to 5% less damage when you do manage to hit the headshots. They also fixed a bug that made you reload slower when you were out of stamina, so hopefully this fixed the bug where you would get stuck in the reloading animation because that's really annoying. And then they fixed a bug that allowed you to increase your rate of fire by animation skipping. Moving on to the life staff, it got a nerf to its beacon ability, which used to continue healing the caster after they left the circle. It no longer does this and only works while you're inside the circle, but really the biggest nerf to the life staff is in the perks, which is still coming up. Moving on to the Ice Gauntlet, they buffed the Ice Tomb ability by raising its health from 50% to 75% of the caster's health. Also, the ability that pushes people away from your Ice Tomb when you explode out of it had its mana cut in half, so it used to cost 20 and now it only costs 10 mana. Really, its biggest buff though came in the form of a general change. This general change applies to all of the abilities that prevent dodging, but you can now no longer jump while you're affected by these abilities. This is huge for the Ice Gauntlet because it means that you can no longer jump out of Ice Shower, so if you get hit by it, you can no longer get out of the route early. On the other side of the spectrum, the Great Axe got several nerfs. Bloodlust's increased speed has been reduced from 30% to 20%. Also, the Great Axe homing detection for all non-fully charged heavy attacks was reduced, so this means that you're going to have to be a little bit more accurate with your attacks. It also had its base crit reduced from 40% increase to 30%, and Reap's pull damage was reduced from 110% to 70% weapon damage. So overall, it's going to be more difficult for Great Axe players to catch people that are running away from them, and when they do catch them, they're going to do a little bit less damage. Touching on the Void Gauntlet, they reduced the amount that the Petrifying Scream ability could scale. It was reduced from 50% to 30%. They also made it so Detonating Orb can no longer backstab, so you can't get those guaranteed crits from it, and fixed a few bugs which increase the quality of life with the Void Gauntlet. Last up, we got the Spear. It had an increase to its homing and hit shape size, and they also increased Skewer's Lunge by 50%, which overall just makes the Spear a little bit easier to hit your attacks. If you made it this far in the video, I'd appreciate if you like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Anyways, let's get into the perks. Looking at the gems, the Jasper got a buff to its weapon perk. So now after you receive 3 hits hits, your next 3 attacks are going to be buffed, whereas previously it was only one of your next attacks was going to be buffed. So this has some potential for tanks looking to do more damage. The Plagued Crit perk is going to reduce the healing on an enemy by 10 to 40% when you critical strike them while they're below half health. This debuff is going to last for 12 seconds. Plague Strikes is going to apply the exact same debuff, except your target doesn't have to be below 50% health, and it applies when you heavy attack them. This debuff is going to last for a shorter 8 seconds, but as you can tell, these 2 perks are going to really apply when you're fighting a tank or a healer that you just can't seem to kill. Thwarting Counter is going to cause you to do 10 to 25% more damage on a target that has active grit, and Thwarting Strikes is going to allow you to do 3 to 12% increased damage while you have active grit. Trenchant Strikes is going to increase the damage to your fully charged heavy attacks by 3 to 15%, and Trenchant Crit is going to make your fully charged heavy attacks crit for an additional 5 to 20% increased damage. Trenchant Rend is going to make your fully charged heavy attacks apply Rend for 7 seconds, which is going to reduce your target's absorption between 4 to 15%. Trenchant Recovery is going to be lifesteal on your fully charged heavy attacks. You're going to heal yourself from 10 to 30% of the damage that you dealt. There's also both physical and elemental aversions. Depending on which one you pick, it's going to make you take 2 to 4% less damage from either physical or elemental damage. All of these perks are going to be active in the December patch. We got a bunch of really good updates. If you want to see those, check out this video here. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Marcus, and thanks for watching.